Hi, everybody. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. I am so excited to be here today. I get to maybe interview or have an amazing conversation with somebody that I highly, highly admire. I've been following him for a long while, and I got to know him through the Jam Campbell voice thing that we did. He was not in my class, but he was part of it from classes prior to. So we have had a few interactions, but really nothing too serious. So I'm gonna go ahead and invite him over himself, so you guys can get to hear firsthand who he is, what he does, and then you'll agree with me that he's fabulous. So give me just a second to make sure that I can invite him. Oh, there he is.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I was having connection issues, but we're good. We're good to go.
I am very familiar with those. Definitely familiar with those.
Oh yes, oh yes. Good to
So
finally speak.
yeah, I am so excited about this. I'm not gonna lie. I'm already sweating and I'm super nervous. But I don't know why. But here we are, and I'm so glad that you made it. I'm glad that we made it happen. I know for you it's the afternoon, for me it's the morning, times, days of differences, but here we are. So for everybody, why don't you introduce yourself so they know who we have the pleasure to be speaking with today?
Great, no problem. Sure. So I'm Ryan Spence. I'm a life coach and yoga teacher, and I'm also an ex-big law lawyer. And what I do now is I help lawyers and corporate executives basically find the clarity, confidence, and courage they need to move from a life of lethargy to living a life that's lit. So yeah, I help people basically live the life that they want.
Yeah, I love the fact that you call it a lit life. So I want to start by that. I know we are going to concentrate on the triple C method, which is, I find it fascinating. I love the fact that you do everything instead of trees. But before we get there,
Mm-hmm.
you talk a lot about living a life that is lit. And
Uh-huh.
I love the way it sounds. I love the feel. I just feel lit by just even saying it. It's motivating. But where does it come from? Uh-oh. Thank you for everybody that is joining. I think I am live, but I think he's frozen. So let's just give him a minute. Yeah, he did say he had poor connection. So when he returns, we want to know why he has a life like where the definition comes from. And let's see if I can re-invite him. There we go. So thank you for your patience. Technology issues are always the most inappropriate things that happen to all of us.
Okay,
So
we're back.
I think you're back.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
so I
back.
was asking you to define a lit life. Go for it.
Sure. So a lit life, it means different things to different people, but I like to refer to it as a feeling. So we all have those moments, those feelings, which is just like, this is the best day ever. We're feeling our best. So for me, one of the things is when I'm in my car, sun shining, windows down, hip hop's
Hip
blaring
hop.
out. I'm rapping along like I'm on stage. Like I feel on top of the world. I feel this sense of freedom, this sense that nothing can stop me. And what I try to do now is remember that feeling, and that's the feeling that I'm striving for in what I do. And that feeling will be different for everybody. You know, some people may find it in their job, in their families, in their friends, in their sports and exercise, but it's making a note of those feelings throughout the day, and you're trying to create a life where those feelings are things that happen the majority of the time, not the minority of the time, like when you go on holiday or when it's the weekend, you know. So it's living a life where you're not living for the weekend, you're just enjoying every moment as if it's your last, effectively.
Yeah, I just love the concept. And hopefully not in the UK, but in the US, we live in such a society in which you do have to schedule time
Mm-hmm.
for your lit time. Like
Mm-hmm.
you cannot do it on an everyday basis because that will be weird or almost inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have to definitely make the time to just, okay, then I want to do for me, it's probably hiking.
Mm-hmm.
I love hiking, running, the adrenaline, that the fact that I could probably fall at any given moment. But once I'm
Mm-hmm.
at the peak, I realize that I am on top of something and yet I am
Yeah.
so little, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I am on top of the mountain, feeling good. I'm sweaty. I'm living. I'm feeling the heart rate.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yet I realize that all around me, I'm like this tiny little thing. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's just the sense of, like you said, freedom and the reason.
Yeah.
That's how I would define live
Yeah.
life. I, however, obviously work from home all day, so it's not like I
Mm-hmm.
can be hiking 24/7. But I
Mm-hmm.
do. But I get the concept and the feeling, and I love that.
Yeah.
So thank you for walking us through the definition of the fact that it's a feeling and the one that you want to have a lot more often than not.
Yeah.
Lesson to be learned over here. But okay, now let's get into the good and the gritty. So you talk about the triple C method,
Uh-huh.
and I guess I want to start by asking, why is it a method? Why is it that they have to be combined in order to better work?
Sure. So when I left Big Law, and I was sort of just getting through this process, and then decided that I was going to try coaching, I had made a brain dump of all the things that I had to do to get from where I was to where I then was, and that feeling. And the thing about the world of personal development, self-help, whatever you want to call it, it can be quite overwhelming. There are all of these things that people say you should do, all of these concepts, all of these habits. And for me, I wanted to simplify that in a way that I could explain to clients and potential clients kind of what my process was, the ideas that I was thinking of. And I came up with these three pillars of clarity, confidence, and courage, because I feel that they encompass everything that helped me. And to sort of break them down a little bit further, you've got clarity as to who you are. I mean, what it is that lights you up. What are your values? Who you are, like deep down, without all of the outside noise and the social conditioning. Clarity as to what you want, and it's not about what you want to be, the job you want to do. It's more about, I guess you can define it in different ways. Your mission, your life's purpose, your goal. What's that thing bigger than yourself that you want to achieve? And clarity as to what you want. What do you want your life to be like? Like, what does your day look like? What time do you get up? Like, where do you go to work? Do you work? Do you work for yourself? All of these things, it's all a process of kind of getting clear. And it's a process. It will change as you develop more. You'll find new things out about yourself. But you have to start there. Then once you have some sort of sense of clarity, you have to then get to confidence, because you have to have confidence that life is for you, confidence to believe that you can achieve that big goal, that thing that you're out there trying to achieve. And you have to believe in yourself, be able to trust your own gut, your instinct, your intuition, because a lot of us lack confidence. It doesn't matter how good we are at something, we lack confidence in our ability, because you always think there's somebody better than us, or someone's going to find us out, that whole imposter syndrome that we talk about, right? So confidence just means that you feel that you can figure it out, and you feel that you can move forward. And then after that, courage. You've got to have the courage to take the steps, to take action. Because a lot of us, myself included in the past, we take on all this information. We read books, we watch YouTube, we just take it all in. We get inspired, like, wow, they did this, that's amazing. But we don't then take action. So a year later, we're in the same place we were before. So the courage is about taking action to get to where you want to be, without knowing exactly what you're going to do, but just knowing that by taking that first step, the rest of the step will be revealed to you, and then the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step. So that's effectively what the 3 C's are.
Yeah, that's awesome. For the knowledge, for the thing that you said, that you grab all the knowledge in, that you just take it in, and you keep learning and keep learning, and you do feel better. You feel like you are taking a step on the right direction. Maybe it may be passive action, like many call it. And in a conference that I was just at, somebody called it knowledge versus wisdom. So you have all this knowledge, right? But it's not gonna make any difference in your world, or in your case, being a life coach, or anybody's, unless you apply it into action. And so that's how you define courage. Some people call it like wisdom. It has all different names. For me, it's like the 5 minutes of bravery. I have to just breathe 5 and then jump.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's exactly it. It isn't that you're not scared. It isn't that you're not fearful. It's not that it's not uncomfortable, but it's that you think that the discomfort that you feel is not as big as the mission that you're on. And that's why it has to be something bigger than yourself that you're trying to achieve. Otherwise, you won't do it.
Yeah, for sure. Like do it, but do it scared. It's fine
Yeah.
to feel the feelings. I welcome them. I'm sweating right now. But here we are. We're still here and we're doing it. So
Still here.
yeah, I think it's just taking the step. But when it comes to confidence, you said that many of us don't have it.
Mhm.
We do we might have a good position, we might have like a good title, we might
Mhm.
get through life just fine. But confidence is not felt by many. So how would you give like a tip to somebody that wants to maybe do a little self-evaluation of on saying, do I know what I'm doing, or is
Mhm.
that confidence?
Sure. I think that you can have confidence without knowing what you're doing. And by that, I mean that by starting and trusting yourself, basically you're trusting yourself that you can figure it out. So I think that you look back and just think of all the things that you've done. And if you look back through your own history, you'll see that there are things that you've done which you didn't think about, you just did. I put out a post a few weeks ago talking about, you know, I mean, when you were born and when you started to crawl and when you started to walk, do you know what I mean? But all of those sorts of things, you just kind of did them and you fell and you fought and you failed and then you started again and you kind of figured it out. So it's just knowing that you have it within you to do the thing once you can conceive it. Journaling helps a lot. I use journaling prompts to kind of help me through that. I have a confidence journal on my website, which is prompts that I use. And it's kind of like asking yourself sort of questions. Okay, what's the thing I don't believe that I can do? Write it down, give it a face, have it be something that you can look at. You know what I mean? If you have an enemy, you need to know who that enemy is. And then you sort of ask yourself a series of other questions, sort of going through that. What are the reasons that you can't do it? List them all down. Look at those reasons. Are they actually real? Do you know what I mean? Or you just think they're real? Is it just false, but you're just kind of writing them down? Once you have things on paper, you can then start to assess, okay, what's real, what's not real, what do I need to do, what do I need to work on, how would I feel if I achieve the thing that at the moment I'm not confident to do? Work through all of those things. So all of those prompts are there and you can go and get them, but you need to kind of do that inner work, that self-awareness. You can't look externally for confidence because that confidence will be short-lived. You need to kind of look inside yourself to kind of feel that, yeah, I am, you know, stand tall, shoulders back, right, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go and do this. And the more that you do it, the more confident you'll become. So yeah, that's my tip on this anyway. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, I love the definition, and you do have a confident journal. I'll make sure to put everything on the link so they can
Thank
find
you.
it. I used it, I think, myself when I first started following you. I was like, oh, what is this about?
Ah,
And I was brand new to journaling.
mhm,
I want to say that I'm still an apprentice. Like, you
mhm.
know, I'm still kind
Yeah.
of going with it. And some
Mhm.
days are good. Sometimes it's two words because I'm
Yeah.
just like, I don't know if I
Yeah.
want to put it in. So I still have the imposter syndrome, even on journaling, which is
Yeah.
exhausting. But going back to clarity,
Mhm.
it's another one that I really think that many of us struggle with.
Yeah.
We I don't know if I want to use it as an, I hate using excuses, but I think personally for me, I struggled for a long time because I had so many expectations by other people
Mhm.
that I thought that was my clarity. Like, oh, they
Yeah.
expect me to be doing this and this way, and so therefore, I I have it figured out. I just have to show
Mhm.
up and do it, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Then I realized that that wasn't really like my life that I was living.
Mhm.
I was exhausted and I was doing it, but I wasn't fulfilled in any way. So, what are good starting points to find your own clarity? Because many of us might think that we have it because
Mhm.
we're living day by day, we're getting through it, we have great positions, we have a good house, whatever. But
Mhm.
at the end, like maybe you felt maybe when you were a lawyer, like this is just not it, this is not,
Mhm.
I know you had a waking up call, right? You were
Mhm.
on
Yeah.
vacation. I don't know if
Yeah.
you want to share the story, but for those that haven't had that moment of like, all right, this is not the life that I'm supposed to be living,
Mhm.
what are like the first three tips that you would give somebody to just gain clarity? Because that one's one that
Yeah.
gets us really stuck. And I know you talked about the life that you want to live and your values,
Mhm.
but like three starting simple points that
Yeah.
for somebody as scared as I was once upon a time
Mhm.
would be encouraging to do it.
Sure. So I mean, there's a couple of things you can start with. I mean, there's three questions I think you can ask yourself. So one is, what are your values? And there's various value exercises that you can find on Google. But I think it's just things like, is making money important to you? You know, yes, we all need money to live, but is making the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time important to you? And for some people it is. Okay, fine. Then you can start to make decisions in that vein. You know what I mean? Is it important to you to be present? Is it important to you to have time to do a particular thing outside of the office? There are all of these questions that you need to ask yourself in that respect. Then you need to think about, what is it that lights you up? So what are the things that excite you? So going back to that feeling we were talking about, recall the feelings of joy that you had, recall what happened to create those feelings of joy, and try to sort of figure out, okay, what can I do to create more of those moments of joy in my life? You know, what you said about you thought you had clarity, but actually it was the expectations of others is common, because there are expectations placed upon us from when we were a child, from our parents, from schools, from society. You know, you go through the education system, you get a good job, and you're supposed to climb that ladder. That's success, right? But is it really success? Like, ask yourself, what does success mean to me? Does success mean to me X amount of money in the bank? Does it mean to me having this car or this house? You know what I mean? Or does it mean to you having the freedom to live anywhere and work with anyone you want to work whenever you want to work? Does it mean being able to take your kids to and from school? Does it mean being able to kind of go and live overseas for a month or 6 months of the year? Success is different to everybody. So, and again, these are big questions, but start small. So when I was talking about thinking about the day you want to live, for example, yeah, start with a day. You can start with, what does my life look like? That's big. Start with a day, your ideal day. What time would you get up? What would you do when you got up? What would you have for breakfast? You know, where would you go? You know what I mean? Would you go to the gym? Would you go to a yoga class? Would you go to an office? Would you work from home? You know what I mean? Do you have kids? Are you married? Do you take the kids to school? What kind of, you know what I mean? And you should start to sort of build from that. And as you're taking the time to work through that day, notice how you feel. Like, where's the thing where it's just like, that would be amazing if that happened? And don't dismiss it as something that can't happen. Write it down. You know what I mean? Make a note of that, because these are the things you're going to keep coming back to when you're starting to make decisions about steering your life in the way that you want it to be. You know what I mean? You'll make decisions based upon the job that you take, whether you stay in your current job. You'll make that decision upon, if you're not married, who you marry, or do you mean where you send your kids to school, or who you become friends with. That clarity is going to influence so many decisions throughout your life, which is why it's the first thing that I start with. Because without that, you're literally just, you know, you're just out in open water, not really knowing where you're going, what's going to happen, are you going to sink or swim? So yeah, question yourself. What lights me up? What are my values? What does my ideal life, or start with day, look like? And go from there.
I love it. I love it. I know we have an audience, so thank you so much for joining. I wanted to say hi, but I didn't want to interrupt. So if you have any questions for Ryan, this is the time. I know that Erica was super intrigued this morning when I told her that I was interviewing you. So if you have any questions, type them up. This is the time to pick Ryan's brain. And in the meantime, while you guys decide, this is a moment of courage, of confidence to type your question, because you get to pick his brain directly. So
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, let's go back to really quickly. You mentioned our yoga class. I know that we're not supposed to talk about this, but you are also a yoga teacher, right?
Sure.
Tell us
Yeah,
about that.
I am. Yeah. So when I left law, I knew I was going to leave. I knew there was a potential for layoffs, and I was kind of happy for that to happen. But I'd also just start seeing a coach myself. And in our first session, when she was like, "What would you do, like, if you could do anything when there was no object?" It was very much all law stuff, another law firm, go in house, that kind of thing. And about the second or third session, I kind of said, I want to do something in yoga and wellness. And I'd always practiced yoga on and off, but and I knew that I kind of wanted to train as a teacher, but I didn't think it was something that was really viable. But then I said that, and suddenly it's like, wow, there's a whole world of possibilities. So did my teacher training in Singapore, where I was living at the time, started teaching, loved it. And yeah, I just love going and getting people to the mat and sort of just seeing them at the end of class, when they arrive kind of a little bit stressed, a little bit flustered, just being very much at peace and at ease with themselves. And that's what I was going to do. That was my plan, is to just basically teach people yoga, get them to the mat, and then allow them to kind of find themselves. But the more that I had conversations with students, with people that listened to the podcast I had at the time, with people that messaged me on Instagram, people wanted more than that. They wanted me to coach. They wanted to kind of hear about how they could change their lives. They didn't necessarily want to do it themselves. And I got asked to speak to people who were maybe in jobs they didn't like, who were a little bit stressed, who didn't know what to do. And I had those conversations, and I loved them. They really energized me. And the people I spoke to loved them, and it kind of really helped me to see things differently. And so that's how I kind of like moved from the teaching into coaching. But for me, there's similarity between the two. The two converge here because yoga is all about self-awareness. It's about taking care of your well-being. It's about looking within yourself for the answers. It's about not getting too attached to stuff and to things that we can't change. And for me, yoga coaching is the same. And so at the moment, the two are separate. But my plan, my idea for my group coaching that I'm trying to put together is to kind of bring them both together, to have yoga and breathwork, because I also a breathwork instructor, as part of the coaching, so that people can have ways to manage their well-being and have the tools and strategies to look after their well-being while they're going through these big life shifts and transformations.
Wow, wow. I'm so excited to hear that you're also into breathwork. I mean, I feel like yoga and breathwork are also hand by hand. So we did get some questions proud of you girls. This was a moment of bravery, and for that, I applaud you. So the first question, Ryan, what do you do to get back on track on an off day?
Yeah, so we all have off days. And I think the first thing is not beating yourself up and recognizing that we all have off days. I think there's a lot of pressure to...
Oh no, I think you might have froze again. It's okay. We're good. Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Sorry. You froze for a second. So
it's okay. I think there's all this pressure to be the king or queen of personal development and to have all of these amazing habits and to kind of live life perfectly. It's not realistic. We're human, and things happen. So I think what's helped me is I meditate each morning. And what that has helped me to do is to practice non-attachment, to not get too attached to stuff and to outcomes. So being a coach and yoga teacher, people think that you're the most chilled out person, that nothing ever phases you. And that's not true. Like we lose it like the rest of us, you know, I mean, we're human. But what it does allow me, what it does give me the tools to do is to, first of all, let it out. Do you know what I mean? Acknowledge what's happened, acknowledge that emotion, acknowledge how I'm feeling. Then to accept that it's happened, you know, I mean, accept that it's out of my control and it is what it is. But then what is in my control is kind of how I then deal with it. And so for me, the third stage is then to adapt to the situation. So if something's gone wrong, okay, how can I get myself back on track to where I want to go? And working through those 3 steps really helped me, you know. And some days it's an off day and no matter what you do, you really just can't get yourself into the groove. Give yourself some grace. Let it go. Focus on your breath. Take that time out for yourself just to focus on your breathing and let it go. Tomorrow's another day. You know, if you're having 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row like that, then maybe there's a deeper issue. But a day or 2, it happens. Let it go. Give yourself some grace. I hope that helps.
She says, I love that. Thank you. So I think you will.
Thank you.
The next question is, where to start if you want to build a habit routine?
Habits and routines, key one. I think the first question you have to ask yourself is, why do you want to build that habit or routine? Why do you want to do that thing? So whether it's you want to go do yoga every morning, you want to meditate every morning, or you want to go to the gym every morning, you want to get up at 5 a.m., you have to be clear why you want to do it. Because if you don't have a why that's bigger than yourself, if you're doing it because it's what you think that you should do, you're not going to stick with it, because it takes time to build a routine. And there are things which will knock you off course in your routine. So you have to ask yourself why. So for example, I just after I decided that I wanted to leave, but didn't know what I was going to do yet, I signed up for a boxing match, and I sort of fought in a white collar boxing match. So it was 3 months of training. I trained 6 days a week, sometimes twice a day, and I was getting up a lot of the time at 5 a.m. to meet my trainer to train before going to work. Now, getting up at 5 a.m. is not really something that I particularly liked. Um, but the why was that I was training for a fight and I did not want to get knocked out. You know, I wanted to win the fight, but I mean, the clear thing was I don't want to get knocked out and I don't want to embarrass myself on the night. I want to put myself out there and feel that I've done everything that I can in that fight. And if that meant getting up at 5 in the morning to train, that's what I would do. So that was my why. And that's what allowed me to do that consistently for 12 weeks. And then beyond, after the fight, I loved the training. I loved what it did for me. I loved how I felt. So then I continued. But that was it. If I just decided I want to get up at 5 a.m. because there's a book called The 5 a.m. Club and everybody else does it, and that's what all these people do, so I have to do it, I wouldn't have stuck with it, because staying up all night watching Netflix is far more appealing than getting up at 5 a.m., right? But getting knocked out in the middle of a ring with 1,000 people around you is sort of far worse than getting up at 5 a.m. So again, having that why bigger than yourself. Once you know the answer to that, then you're going to stick with the routine, even when it's difficult to do so.
Yeah, I think the reward, like you describe it, I mean, the why, I would call it maybe a reward, or like you said, like a big consequence. Like we tell our kids, right? Do you want a big consequence?
Exactly.
What is the big consequence?
Exactly, yeah.
But for me, I am definitely in the 5 morning. I haven't read the book, but I have heard great things. But for me, it's the only time I get to myself. Like my phone is still in do not disturb. I get to go to the gym and just be myself and sweat and be present. And then I have journaling time. And I feel that it's so rewarding, because then by the time that my kids are up, I'm already in a whole different zone. You know, I already released a crazy amount of energy to where I can actually be a little more zen in front of my family. I already put my thoughts together. No, I don't shower often. You're welcome. This is for you. But it gives me the time to myself, and that is a big reward for a mom, or a parent, because I know you have kids too.
Yeah, exactly. The same for me. I mean, mine's between sort of 5:30 and 6 at the moment, but same reason. It's time before the kids get up. You know, I mean, it's time for me to practice some yoga, to meditate, to maybe journal a bit, whatever it is that I need to do. But I need that time to just get me centered and feel like I'm in control of my day. And the days when I don't have that time, I just feel like I'm on this sort of hamster wheel and I don't really have as much control, or I'm not as motivated or as productive. So it's become something that I've leaned on a lot. And the times change. Sometimes it's 5 a.m., sometimes it's 5:30, sometimes it's 6. But whatever it is, carving out that time for me in the morning before the day starts is really important. And look, everyone does what works for them. I think some people don't like mornings and they have a strong nighttime routine. I think that's fine as well. For me, mornings work well, because you then approach the day in a way that you feel like, yeah, I've already achieved something and now I'm ready to go ahead and face the day. And also ready to face my kids at breakfast time. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know. We are very familiar with how important it is to face your kids with your best self, right? Because when a banana breaks, things can get really wild really quickly.
Oh, yes. The banana episode, yes. Yeah, kids will challenge you. Like, again, going back to being a coach and yoga teacher, like kids challenge all of that sort of chilled out Zen stuff, non-attachment. Kids don't care. And yeah, so as you alluded to yesterday, I talked about my 3-year-old screaming at me for 20 minutes because the banana broke and he wanted me to tape it back together with tape. And it's just like, what do you do in that situation? And look, I just confess, I didn't handle it in a chilled Zen way to start off with. But as it went on, I calmed down and I did sort of learn lessons to sort of take away from that. But yeah, and again, this is the thing. You've got to give yourself some grace, because we're dealing with a lot of things that are outside of our control. And sometimes you just have to just let things go and accept that today's not my day for this, and kind of come back and attack it again tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. I think that kids are definitely our biggest challengers, but they're also, for me, one of my biggest teachers. Like because like you said, they just simply don't care. They, and they let things go so quick. They don't even get fazed by it. Yeah. I mean, I wish I had that ability. Sometimes it takes me like deep breaths. I have to journal about it. I have to vent about it. I have to I have to go through 5 different processes to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
Yeah.
see my kid that I already forgot about it, and I'm still upset. So I feel like in many, many ways, they're definitely amazing teachers, definitely the biggest challengers. But
Yeah, and the thing is that we were those children, and
yeah,
that's the thing, is that there's a point in our path in our growing up where we lose that ability to just not care what people think about us, to say the most outrageous things, to have the most outrageous dreams. It all kind of gets squeezed out of us, and we're funneled through this traditional path. And what I try to do with the content that I put out, with the work that I do with clients, is to kind of show people that actually I've realized life doesn't have to be like that. There are so many people now, and particularly with the pandemic, who are carving paths for themselves, who are living lives, who are doing jobs, who are making the income in a way that people wouldn't have comprehended sort of 2 or 3 years ago. But they've kind of taken a step, they've had that courage to take that first step, and they figured it out. So there's no reason why you can't do it too. So yeah, I think if you have kids, whether they're your own or kids that are close to you, just kind of watch them and, yeah, as you say, learn from them. Because if we can recapture more of that and tap in more to our inner child, I think the things that we talk about, you know, I mean, we'll be more likely to achieve. You'll have that confidence, you'll have that courage, and you just won't care.
yeah. And when you fail, you just know to get up and try it again,
Yeah,
just like they
fall
do. So
down, get
it's,
up.
yeah,
Exactly.
I completely agree. So Ryan, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for your time. I have loved every second of this conversation, and I obviously love picking your brain in all kinds of topics and levels. And so thank you for everybody that participated and your questions. I don't know if there's any parting questions before we wrap this up, but if not, is there anything that you want to add, or any last minute comments or must do's or call to actions? I don't know. What's your thing?
Sure. So I guess the message I'd like to leave people with is you don't have to do what you've always done, and you don't have to be who you've always been. You do have a choice. I mean, you do have a choice as to how you live your life. Um, and as long as you find that clarity, get that confidence, and have the courage to take action, you'll find your place. You'll find the thing that works for you. So yeah, that's what I'd like to leave people with. And yeah, I mean, you'll put it in the notes, I guess. But yeah, come find me. Always here on Instagram. You know, I mean, posting all kinds of weird and crazy stuff.
It's
Hopefully,
hilarious. I
hopefully.
highly recommend it. I crack up every day.
Oh, good, good. I try to entertain. And yeah, you can come find me on the website. I am ryanspence.com. And yeah, I finally got around to sending out a weekly email, which I was struggling for a name, but I'm now called the Lit List. I think that works well. So
Like,
yeah, you can go on there, and yeah, it's kind of a bit of what I say on Instagram, but just with a bit more depth, and it could be a bit more playful, and you'll actually see it. So get on there. Next email is going to go out later today, I think. And yeah, thank you
I
for inviting
also
me.
I also wanted to add, obviously he's a life coach, he offers the calls. But in that discovery call, you say something that is really, really bold that I really, really like. Go ahead and say it.
And my discovery call. Oh, what did you
Yeah,
say?
okay. Fine,
You
I'll
tell.
say it for you. Because obviously this proves that I'm a big fan. It says that whether you're not at work or not, whether you're going to work or
Oh,
not work with him, you will leave that call thinking differently. I
yes.
mean, isn't that a
Yeah.
statement? I love it. So therefore, I thought it was super important to add.
Oh no, no, yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, no, I think that's the thing. I mean, everyone looks at discovery call. Oh, if I get on a call, somebody's going to try and sell me something that I don't want. But what I want people to understand is that it's an opportunity for you to get to know me to get to know you, and for us to kind of have that chat, and for me to kind of share some of the things that I share on Instagram. Obviously, are shared for a wide range of people. But when a one-on-one, we can talk about them in relation to you. And that is my aim, really. My aim is I have three aims on the call. You know, I mean, okay, yeah, obviously I would like you to work with me if we get on. But apart from that, I want you to be able to make a decision one way or another, whether we're going to work together or not. And I want you to have left with at least one thing that you look at differently, that you think about differently, because then that's my value to you. And that's the value of you taking that 1 hour to speak to somebody who you've never met before. And maybe just that one conversation can change how you then think about things in the future, how you move forward. Whether you hire a coach, whether you hire me or hire somebody else, I just kind of want to start to be the agent of that change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly, I love that statement. I feel like it's so bold and amazing, and it's so true, because even in this conversation, I definitely have so many nuggets that I can go back to and be like, I don't have to replay these, take notes where nobody's watching, and I can nerd out. So anyway, Ryan, thank you so much for making the time. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully let's do that again, or when you have I am super curious about the AAA. I know that's one of your things too, so maybe one of these days. But in the meantime, if you I will make sure that you have all the information, and everybody a round of applause for Ryan for showing up. And thank you again. Have a wonderful afternoon for you and day for the rest of us.
Yeah, have a great day. Thank you so much for the invitation. Really appreciate it, and really good to finally speak face to face. You know.
Right. So, yeah. I know. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Telma. Bye.
Bye.